everybody, and welcome to our lesson. I'm your instructor, John Pomeroy, and this particular lesson is how to draw a cartoon neck. So, in our previous lesson, we covered the basic structure of how to draw a realistic neck. So, with that information, that kind of prepares you a little bit for this particular lesson on taking that and caricaturing that information for a cartoon neck. And there are all kinds of characters. I mean, there's goofy characters, hero characters, female characters, even animal characters, or even anthropomorphic characters. So this lesson, we will dive into how to draw a cartoon neck. So let's get started. So in drawing cartoon necks, let's start out with a large massive form here. I'm going to do the neck of kind of a big heavyweight guy. He's got a thick neck, small head, large jaw. He's kind of a pugnacious character, kind of a villain type, I guess. This would be the front part of his chest area, his shoulder area. We'll bring that chest muscle up in front. There's the other side of his arm, deltoid. It's important for me to get all the structure for all the parts of the body in order to make the neck look like it fits on that body. So there's the head, there's the eye line. He's got a large jaw. There would be the side of his face, just to give you an idea of the shape. And once again, here's his back. We got eye placement right there, small little eyes, a big thick brow, a square, tiny little squarish nose. I'm going to shade in the portions underneath the eye just to give it a little more prominence. And there's his mouth with lips curled out. Got tiny little ears on either side. Wrinkles above his brow. He's got a small cranium and a little top cranium on top of that with some little hair sticking out. So there's our massive guy's head. Now the neck would just be this huge shape. Imagine like a gigantic tapering cylinder. Like so, that the cranium would be attached to. So we have this big, thick, bulging neck. Now it's going to be attached. I'm going to just do an indication of the scapula right there. And for me, being a cartoon, I don't have to get into the actual structure like we talked about with the sternocleidomastoid muscles and all that. I would feel that this particular character is massive, and there would be a lot of flesh here that would be bulging out. You'd probably even see part of the neck on the other side. The main thing is how that neck fits onto the head and onto the rest of the body. That's the important part. And we've got that now. And the rest of the structure we can just kind of delineate just a little bit, not overly so, just give an indication of what this character is like. And also, I mean, you can do all kinds of hairstyles. You can do like a slight shadow that he's got kind of a 2-day growth of beard. So that would be the neck for that kind of prominent character. If we were to look at this from the side, this character, there would be his back, there would be his head, big round shoulders, Maybe what I'll do is I'll do it on another piece of paper, because I don't want you to miss anything on this. I think it's important to make sure that you see how the structure relates and how it could be used for cartoon purposes. So I'll just draw over this particular pose. I'll do the back. We'll see the massive shoulder right there, that deltoid. We see the chest. We see that neck, that tapering, thick tube of a neck, and then the head placed on it. There's his jaw. Shoulder, arm, the back. You can almost do a complete line, an arc that goes down from his back, from the his shoulder, his scapula, right there, all the way up to the back portion of his head. For design's sake, that would make it very simple and easy to read. Then you have the cranial mass, his nose. There would be the eye position, the smaller little cranial mass that comes up with some stubble hairs. There would be his eye line, his ear. Right there, we would see a couple of wrinkles where the neck meets the back side of the head. And then coming out from the ear would just be a massive shape for his jaw. I would do a line coming down from his nostril, corner of the mouth. At this angle, you might show just a little bit of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, barrel chest. So that's the way that would look from the side. So let's try another character, totally different character. Children are fun to animate, babies included. So what we want to do is we would do a head shape, almost a square. Remember, when we're drawing a male head, it's almost rectangular, but with a child, a cartoon child, I think you'd want to stay with something that was slightly squarish. I'm going to draw the sides too so you can see. There would be the sides. The eye line, if this were like a 1.5, 2-year-old baby, the eye line would be much lower because it's the majority of the shape is all forehead. And the eyes would be large and far apart. It'd be forehead, the back side of the head. There's the medial line that defines the forehead and the back side of the cranium. Tiny little eyebrows. Maybe a little swig of hair. Large, cute eyes. Slight eyelashes. Tiny little dot of a nose. Cheeks coming up to the bottom of the eyes. And a cute little mouth. Big fleshy cheeks coming down from the eye line. And then coming off the eye line are the ears on either side. So the baby's neck would be very small. There's the shoulder. Back of the head. So an infant would have just a cute little baby neck. I don't think you'd even see from this angle, this is almost like a 3/4 angle. You'd see a front portion, but barely the portion where it connects with the back side of the head. If you were to turn the baby around, you'd see the shoulder, the large cranium. You'd see the forward part of the neck, its shoulders, the chest area, right about here where the fleshy part meets, you'd see a couple of little folds. Large forehead, tiny little nose. So that's about what you would see. Let's see, I put the ear there, eye, hair. So that would be the neck right there. Cartoon neck for a baby character. Now, next, let's take a look at a neck for a female character. Suppose, let's see, I would do a female lifting her head up. Let's do an oval shape. The neck coming out from the bottom of the jaw. There's the medial line, the eye line. This character is tilted way back. Cartoon character, female character. The sides of this oval shape. There's the eye line right there. Chin line, the underside of the jaw. The medial line is way back here, I think, so the ear would be coming off of that right about there. There's the eye line. The two eye shapes in there. There's the brow ridge. That's where the eyebrows would be placed. I would just soften all of that. The nose, once again, remember we divide the eye line into three parts, so it's kind of going away from us a little bit. There's that jawline. I'm going to define that jawline just a little bit because the neck is going to be placed right underneath that. It's a soft cheek line. There's the nose. And the mouth would be right about there. Lower lip, upper lip. Her pretty little mouth. So that's that line right there. And then her eye. Her irises. Now, because it's diminishing in size as it goes back, this eye will be larger than that one. Just so you know. See, eyebrow. Eyebrow. Then the nose comes up over the brow. There's the forehead right there. We see the back side of the cranium. Let's give her just a quick little hairdo here just to kind of define some of the mass and the shapes. There's the underside of the hair that's sticking out. Now the back of the neck starts right underneath the ear, slender neck. Now we're talking cartoon neck here, so, but the basic structure is about the same. There's the front part of the chest area. I like to see how all these parts relate to each other. There's the bust line right there. That neck is long and slender. It wouldn't have too much in the way of muscle structure, I don't think. To keep it feminine, I think what we would do is just make sure that it overlap. The throat line would come down and attach itself to the top portion of where the pectoral muscles would be. And the back line would simply flow into the back and the shoulder area. So it would be one line this way and then another one that would go into the back area. I think any more line work and definition, you would start to get something a little bit too masculine or muscular. Just shade in the underside of the brow so you can get some structure here. So there's our female character and our female neck. And you can have a flowers or ponytail in the back. So the female head, divide that into quarters. There's the forehead, there's the nose, there's the lips, chin, eye placement, hair, and then from beneath the ears, the back side of the neck going down into the back. Shoulders, top of the rib cage, bust line, and then right here would be the front part of the neck. The attachment would almost be at a slight angle looking at it from profile. So that's a female cartoon neck. Now, let's do another type of character. Let's do like a superhero. And I'll start out with a block for the head. And make sure that it's got a nice proportion to it. A rectangular structure for the male head. Nice massive neck and shoulders. I want to make sure that the structure of the neck fits the character I'm drawing. Here's the placement of the ear. We've got the block head. I'll shade the side of it, give it some definition. There's the eye, one eye on the eye line. I'll draw the medial line. There's the other eye. Remember, we divide the head, in this case, into 3 equal parts. But I think I'm going to make the jaw a little bit more pronounced. So this would be normal for a realistic head. There's the brow. Start right there at the ears. I would give this a little bit more prominence, just to exaggerate a little bit. I'd make the jaw sticking out about that much. Cheekbone. There's the cheekbone on this side. Have a little bit more prominent chin. The eye or the brow line is right there. Give him nice thick brows. Nice straight nose. And then confident smile, give him a chin, Forehead sloping back, ridge of the brow. Back side of the cranium, and right about there is where his cartoon neck would start. Finish out these ears a little bit. Now for this character, being masculine, you would see those mastoid muscles a lot more. So I would structure a triangle shape underneath his jawline, and then radiating from that are the sternocleidomastoid muscles. Give him a little cape. So that line right there, that would be suffice for me in defining his cartoon neck. If we were doing it from the profile, there's his rectangular head. We divide it in 4 parts. There's his ear, there's eye line, his eyes, sloping forehead, nose, the big jawline, mouth, chin, and that the back of his head would be right about there. The forward part of his neck would be coming out from underneath his jaw. Maybe you see a little bit of an Adam's apple, and there's that sternocleidomastoid muscle right there. And then nice big bulky shoulders and big chest. So that would be that in profile. And we would see that large triangular shape. We would move that in space. That's a nice unit graphically to move to get realism looking, or to get the illusion of realism in your animation if you were doing this as a cartoon animated character. So, and let's go to another type of neck. Let's go to something that's a little more goofy. Let's say we have a cranial mass. It's like a kidney bean. And we wanted to do a longish neck connected to a sloping body. Eye line. Let's give this character big bulgy eyes. So this is a comic character. Large pointy nose. Sloping forehead. I'm going to almost end his top of his head in a point. So coming out from the eye line, we give him large ears. Little brows on top. And maybe this character has very big glasses. Mouth that protrudes forward. From the bottom of the jaw, it just comes out from underneath his mouth, and above that are 2 large buck teeth. You can see the cheekbone on the other side. So he's a goofy character. There's where the neck would meet the shoulders of his body. Maybe he would have a large bow tie. Sloping shoulders, caved in chest. It's a nice, almost a nice curve here. So from the back of his, from the back portion of his head, maybe we catch some of his hair down there. It would just slope down into the back portion of his body. And the front part would come down. Maybe you would have a prominent Adam's apple, and then that would continue down into the collar of his shirt. And there would be our goofy character. And looking from the profile, I mean, his head shape would be about like that. Big pointy nose. There's his eyes. Protruding upper lip, teeth, ear, his ear line or hairline, glasses, and there is his neck. The neck would have almost an angle to it to really push the comical character. Slight Adam's apple. So we would see that angularity in the neck. So there's a cartoon character, a goofy cartoon character idea for how his neck would be placed. Let's do another one. Let's try an animal character. We've mainly been doing human characters, but let's see if we do a goofy bird character like a flamingo. You know, we have a ball for the head. We got an enormous beak, eye line, 2 eyes sitting on the eye line, corners of his mouth pulled up. It would be the little color separation on his bill. We can angle the cranium out. Has a little more design to it. Eyebrows coming up. Corner. I'm going to push the corners of his mouth up just a little bit. You see it on the other side. Small bottom lip. And this character would have, like the other goofy character, have some great angularity on his neck, even more so, being that he's a bird. Have some fun with this kind of character, and that neck is really angular. This shape, too, is very much, imagine like a long tube shape that you've bent. So when you start thinking of all of the different parts of a character, you know, you may have an oval for the body, you may have a egg shape for the head, and you may have a tube for the legs and the neck. It makes it a little bit easier when you start thinking in terms of the shapes of these characters to help you put them together. So there would be a flamingo character with a crooked neck. We can do one more. Let's look at a big bulky character. Like a buffalo. His neck would be like the first character that I did, the wrestler, mean character. This character would have a very massive neck. Draw his snout here. His buffalo eyes. His muzzle. Buffaloes had huge heads flanked by gigantic horns on either side. And where this head, it's almost like imagine a oval with a square attached to it. That's the basic design of this character. The attachment, you'd see some rough wrinkles of fur, and then an enormous, big, bulky mass with fur attached to it. This large, it almost would be like, if it were just a graphic shape, it would be almost like a cone. Imagine a large tapering cone that the head would be attached to the end of it. And then from that would be the bulk of his chest and his back. So there would be the neck of a buffalo character. And that should give you a nice variety of different necks and different forms that you could use. So that was quite a lesson, wasn't it? A lot of information there, and I know it's going to be important for you for your next assignment, which is I would like you to sketch necks. And not just the neck, I'd like you to sketch the neck and how it relates to the head and to the shoulders. These are cartoon necks, so you can exaggerate a little bit and do different varieties, just like I showed you with, the baby or child, the wrestler neck of the big thick neck, a princess neck, a hero. Do different types of neck structures and just continue to practice, because the more you sketch, the better you get. I'm glad that I was able to pass on all this information to you, and I look forward to seeing you again on our next lesson. Until then, bye-bye.